Hello and welcome to the RedLaughRiot podcast. My name's Matt.
And je m'appelle Ben.
Je m'appelle Ben. Some Francais in there. We like it. We like it.
I was trying to think of something different, but that's all I could think of.
Yeah.
So,
getting multicultural. Well, two cultures, I guess, New Zealand culture and French culture. So I guess that's.
I can't say too much more than that.
Yeah, same. I took French in high school, and I can't remember like anything of it.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I remember like the occasional word, but
yeah, exactly. Like just smatterings, if you will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I say let's just roll into it and get absurd as possible with our first headline.
All right.
Today, this is from Science.
Ooh.
It says, white individuals, on average, react positively to a black person referring to them with the N-word. This and the I've got no idea why this is even being studied. The top comment is, what an oddly specific thing to study.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why that is.
I can get that. I think it's because it's like the N-word is like obviously has a negative history associated with it, but it's one of those words that have been reclaimed. Have been sort of reclaimed by the black community. So perhaps, and so they call each other the N-word. So if a black person is calling a white person the N-word, then it's kind of like you're one of us sort of deal.
True. Yeah. That's a good point. There's one comment here says people like being part of a group, and being called that in a positive way is kind of like being brought into the circle. And he says, I actually had one friend get a little offended that I didn't say it back to him.
Oh, no.
Interesting.
I don't know if you can. I wouldn't say it back to them. I'd be like, cheers, man. Cheers, bro.
He's saying that the black guy was offended that he didn't say
it. Yeah.
So it's like he wanted him to say the word.
That's odd. That is very odd. It's weird that they studied that, eh? Like, that's what I can't really get over.
I mean, I guess psychologists need to do something with their life.
Yeah, I mean, whatever pays the bills, I suppose.
Absolutely. Speaking of paying bills,
yeah,
you won't be able to pay any bills if an asteroid crashes into the Earth and kills us all, which is vaguely related to the title, which is from World News. Asteroid sneaks past satellites Monday. Didn't say on Monday, just says satellites Monday. Sneaks past satellites Monday in one of the closest flybys on record. A previously unseen asteroid the size of a truck flew about 4,350 miles or 7,000 kilometers over the Pacific Ocean on Monday, making it one of the closest passes by our planet on record. That's pretty low, isn't it?
Yeah.
7,000 kilometers. I was thinking of 7 kilometers. That's
yeah. That's a sizable difference there between 7,000K and 7K.
Do you know how what the length of New Zealand is? Isn't it about 2,000 kilometers?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds about right. Yeah.
So,
like
the length of New Zealand
3 times and a half.
2.5. 2.5 or 3.5? Yeah, 3.5.
3.5. Because 246
is considered low.
Yeah.
Or close. I suppose it is close on the spatial.
Yeah, I mean it's
scale.
Space is very big, so to get that close is and you have to, because I suppose it's treading a line between, because it has to be close enough that it doesn't get sucked into our orbit, and still be really close. You know what I mean? I don't know at what stage it would get sucked into our orbit, and then that's no longer a flyby. But I think the thing with asteroids that is interesting, because as we know, when they come in, they get burnt up in our atmosphere. So like, they lose a lot of their mass. But I wonder how big an asteroid has to be to do some considerable damage. You know what I mean? Like, how big does it have to be to like wipe off everything on the planet?
I highly recommend a video by Lemino, my favorite YouTuber, called Grazed by the Apocalypse, in which he kind of goes through a number of things that have happened in history that have almost kind of destroyed the entire human race.
Yeah.
And one of those things is an asteroid hitting, just like it, like actually landing, like hitting the Earth in some remote location. I can't remember how big the asteroid was, but the result was like catastrophic, like in terms of the size of the area that was destroyed. It was about the size of New York. Like if they were saying if the asteroid hit New York City, it would have killed everyone.
Wow.
And it just happened to happen in some forest like ages away.
Yeah.
Like
that's so lucky, yeah. Because you also hear about stories as well on a similar vein, not asteroids, but you hear similar stories with nuclear weapons and that being dropped or accidentally dropped. I know the US has accidentally dropped a couple on themselves. Luckily it was in like, middle of nowhere, so and they didn't explode. But yeah, there's like so many stories of that, of like things nearly going, like humanity nearly destroying themselves, nuclear weapons and asteroids being good examples of that happening. And it's like, I think it just shows how like fragile life is, like you know what I mean, like it could really just all end at any moment.
It's quite frightening to think about.
Yeah, which is
one of the most frightening things though is solar flares, because if a solar flare, like a big solar flare, hits the Earth, it could potentially wipe out like all electricity. And then we'd be like thrown back in the Stone Age, and we like wouldn't even know how to recover.
Yeah,
we'd be like it'd be impossible. Like so many people just we all rely on electricity now and the internet and everything. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the Western world would go pretty bloody crazy, to be honest. Because there was a thing that I remember. I can't remember who now. Might have been one of my grandparents or something, was saying, the typical thing of like, do you think you could, like, what would you do without the internet? And so like, I was thinking about it, right? Like, had I been born in an era where the internet wasn't around, I think I'd be fine. But I think if we lost the internet, I think that would definitely have a huge adjustment period, because I use the internet just all the goddamn, like, I pretty much live on the fucking internet. Especially now more than ever. Yeah, so I think that would play into effect as well. And it reminds me of that because I in order to help Tash out with the recent season 1 best bits video, I went back and I listened to a bunch of the season 1 podcasts, and this conversation reminds me a lot of a conversation that I brought up with you back then, which was the whole thing of like, if we wiped all of human progress, how long would it take us to get to the point of making an iPhone? So it's a similar thing, with the solar flares. If technology was wiped out, like, what would happen and how long would it take us to get back? I think what's also insane is, and unfortunately I can't remember any of the exact numbers, but they were talking about the amount of time that technology has progressed, and it was an incredibly short amount of period of time in regards to like the history of the Earth and everything. You know what I mean? Like, just how quickly technology is progressing. Like, you can go from like, we've gone from like nothing, like 100, like where we were 100 years ago versus where we are now versus where we are. Yeah, like each technology is just progressing at such a fast rate that it's just insane, really.
Yeah. I'm just like one of these commenters is saying, better not hit a communication satellite. If I can't post on Reddit, I'm not sure how I would survive.
Yeah.
Which is too true for many Redditors.
Yeah, that's
and
a
another
mood.
another comment says the writers for 2020 have kind of jumped the shark by now, just shoehorning everything in.
Yeah, hard, eh? I remember seeing that. It was like talking about what a year we've had so far. Like, I saw like a brief recap. You know what I mean? It was like recapping all the things.
Yeah.
Okay, so first we had... What did we have
It feels
first?
like it hasn't been in the same year. It feels
Yeah.
like it's ridiculous.
Because first we had Aussie basically being on fire. Then we almost had World War III. Then we had, what else? There was a whole bunch of stuff. There was a whole thing recently with Kim Jong-un, no one knowing if he was alive or not.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, he was. There was something else, and then obviously COVID being the latest in a long line of fucked up shit to happen, you know?
It's interesting that you say it's the latest because it actually happened first. It just didn't become such a big deal.
Yeah.
Until later.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, COVID-19 kind of gives it away.
Yeah, exactly.
Of when it sort of started, but back then it was such
we
a
talked
small
about it.
thing.
I'm sure we talked about it on one of the podcasts we recorded in January.
Did we?
It was a headline. It was one of our headlines.
Oh, really?
And we just kind of joked about it, like, haha, it's like Plague Inc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, we did. I think that's interesting as well, is seeing that side of things, because I was definitely a part of that. Was, you know, everyone sort of making memes out of it, and it's slowly getting more serious, and the people going like, just having that moment of like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I think is definitely something that's sort of like been a running theme throughout. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's so many aspects to it, which is really interesting. Like, yeah, just how it sort of started off as a joke and sort of, you know, as it got more serious. Because unfortunately, I think that's something that we tend to do, like as a society, is if it's not affecting us like directly, then we don't really care. And you can take that from, you know, pandemics. Well, it wasn't a pandemic then; it was a epidemic. But, you know, whether that be, you know, outbreaks or terrorism is a good example as well. You know, like terrorist attacks happen all the time over especially in the Middle East and that, and parts of Africa, and we don't really care about them until they happen closer to home, you know, and whether that be in Europe or just closer to home. You know, we sort of only really start caring about stuff when it affects us, which does kind of make sense from
when it affects the first world country, and the news and the headlines and everything kind of show it. Yeah,
exactly. Which is like, which is sad and a little bit fucked up, but it's like, but I do get it, because it's, I do understand it, because it's, you know, if it's happening in the Middle East or whatever, that's such a world away that you have that physical distance and you have that, I guess, illusion of safety. But when it does start hitting first world countries, then it's sort of more of a wake up call, you know, of like, oh, this could actually affect me. So I think that that side of things starts happening.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how much we rely on the media as well, because like, we don't know about literally anything happening ever unless we read it in the news, right?
Yeah.
So like, and so we're relying on them, and when they choose that attacks in the Middle East are not worth covering, that's why we just don't hear about it.
Yeah,
because we deem it not important enough to click on, so it won't make the news organizations any money, and so we're not gonna see it. It's a bit of a cycle of
absolutely
quite enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also one of the things that makes it, I don't know, such a low priority is that it's not, because it happens, unfortunately, you know, the frequency of attacks in the Middle East versus in the West is like, you know, ridiculously, I don't even know what the ratio would be, but let's say like 10-1, just as an example, because it happens at such a frequency. It's sort of just like oh yeah, of course, you know. So when it happens in a Western country, it's like, oh my God, you know, like because it's I don't want to say special event, but like a special event, you know what I mean? In the worst way possible, you know. So I think that plays into effect as well.
Speaking of nothing that we were just talking about, but it relates to COVID, which we were talking about a second ago. Some good news. That's what I was going to say. The whole thing with COVID is like kind of been good for the world in some ways as well.
Yeah,
it kind of brought us together. Sure. It's made us. There's been a lot of positive impacts actually. Like it's kind of screwed over the whole 9-to-5 work week, which is kind of a terrible system, broken system that I hope long term is changing. Obviously, people are going to be working from home more and everything like that. But it's also just brought people together in general, and people becoming more friendly, people respecting each other a bit more. And one example of that is from Uplifting News. A New York hospital's entire staff was surprised with free vaccinations in recognition of their efforts to combat coronavirus. And of course, that's not a coronavirus vaccine because we don't have one yet.
Yeah.
But just your general average Joe everyday vaccinations that you should be getting. Which it's kind of absurd that has to cost money in the first place because it's like a human necessity essentially.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah, it's weird, eh? There's a lot of things that are like that cost money that is kind of absurd that it costs. And I guess it costs money because of this capitalist system that we've made, that we exchange money for goods and services. But vaccinations are a good example of something that maybe shouldn't cost money. You're right.
So I just I was scrolling through reading reading some comments as I do, picking out good comments to read, and one of them is
God damn it, this better be good. This better be so good. I swear to God.
When I get into these laughing fits, sometimes they just don't end.
Yeah, it's just hard to break them.
I make myself laugh even more because I can't stop laughing. One time at work, a couple of people went out. I can't remember what happened. Someone said something funny. I started laughing. It was really, I don't know. I got into another laughing fit, and then a couple of people went out for a smoke break. And my laughing fit lasted so long. When they got back from their smoke break, I was still laughing.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
So, yeah, that happens to me. But the more you laugh in life, the longer you live, apparently.
Yeah.
It helps. So they say. Anyway, I'm going to try really, really hard to read this.
All right.
Without laughing. The comment says, I read that as vaccinations at first, and my brain broke for a sec.
What was it actually?
It's vacations.
Oh!
The entire staff was surprised with free vacations.
Oh my God, I did the same thing. I heard it as vaccinations.
Well, I read it out to you. I said vaccinations. That's why I thought it was so funny, because it doesn't sound as funny now that I'm kind of explaining it, but I thought it was vaccinations, and we were talking about it, and we're like, yeah, it's not COVID vaccinations, it's just regular vaccinations, which, this shouldn't cost money and all that. And then I'm reading the comment, and then I find out that that's not what it was at all.
Yeah.
Which makes, let's be honest, a lot more sense.
It does.
Like, good on you for saving thousands of lives. Here's a flu vaccination on the house, which would normally only cost you like, I don't know, what do they cost these days? $50?
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah, no. Vacations makes a lot more sense.
It's probably my brain probably doesn't recognize that word because I don't see it often.
Yeah.
It's an American word.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because we would say holiday, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Going on a holiday rather than a vacation.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't be gifted with a free holiday. What would that be? You'd be given free. You'd just be given annual leave for free or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely deserve, the people who are working on the front lines, whether that be in, the medical professionals, or the people who are working, in those essential jobs, definitely do deserve, credit, for essentially keeping the country running,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think well deserved for that company or that group for recognizing that contribution that they made. Like it's insane how hard they're working, especially the medical professionals, who already work insane shifts. Yeah, it's just insane how hard they're working, to essentially, to protect us and to find.
Yeah, and it's the hardest thing because like when they have troubles with their employment contracts and they don't get enough pay and stuff, it's so hard for them because if they go on strike, then people aren't getting cared for.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a weird thing when like nurses or doctors go on strike because like they still have to, a certain amount of them can't. Still have to be working, and it's a bit crazy.
It is for sure.
It's sad that it's not seen often as something that's more of a priority.
Yeah, for sure.
Because how do hospitals? I don't know. It's because everything in life has to make money. That's
exactly
the way the world runs itself.
Yeah,
and it's hard to just like justify it for those shareholders and business people, to spend more money for the sake of saving lives, but
yeah, I mean it always seems to come down to that, profit over people, or people versus profit. And unfortunately there are groups who think that profit is more important than people, which is kind of disgusting to put it frankly.
Didn't Trump say something along those lines about getting the economy back going was more important than the people that would be saved from staying in quarantine? Yeah,
probably. Wouldn't surprise me. Mind you, Trump said so much dumb shit over the course of his political term, and B, over the course of this crisis. Just so much. He said so much dumb shit. Like, the best though is seeing someone made like a video, and it was showing all the people who have had to like stand behind Trump and like literally stand behind him, and press conferences of that, and just their reaction to like stuff he says. And I think the best one was the American, I can't remember his title now, but basically their infectious disease expert was standing behind him. And how everyone said the whole thing of like, don't touch your face because it's one of the easiest ways, to get the virus. If you've touched something with the virus on it and then you touch your face, you're more likely to get it. And Trump said something so stupid that the infectious disease expert facepalmed, like in the background. Like that's how dumb like Trump is. He made the infectious disease expert like completely facepalm and just shake his head, at just the stupidity of Trump. And it's scary. And it's scary too because he's such an incompetent leader, who's leading, the arguably the most powerful country in the world, at a incredibly dangerous isn't the right word that I'm looking for, but like dodgy time. Yeah, like they couldn't have had someone worse, in charge than Trump at this time. Which is really sad, because America are now the number one country for I think it's for both the amount of people who have COVID and for deaths related to it. Which is a statistic you don't really want to have.
No. It's funny. Ryan Higa made a video recently, which you should just go watch it. It's basically like a parody of news, like a news person doing coverage on COVID.
Okay, yeah.
And talking to all these Americans, idiots who they're ignoring all the rules and all that kind of stuff. And and he makes the joke that America is number one. We're number one at everything and blah 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 because we're the best. And then the news reporter's like, yes, and you are number one in COVID cases and deaths.
Yeah.
Which, yep, it's a sad world. But what's even worse about Trump in general is that he's probably gonna stay president for another 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
What is the political system in the States is just so broken. It just doesn't make any sense that there aren't any normal human beings that are able to run for office.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many issues with the US system, and I could literally do an entire podcast on it, but I could not. But don't.
You'd be on your own.
I was just about to say, don't worry, Ben. I'll save you from that. From that horror. I don't know. Yeah, because I was looking. I'm not sure when the last one-term US president was, because Obama was 2 terms. Bush was 2 terms.
Did 9/11. What?
Clinton was 2 terms. Bush Senior, I believe, was 2 terms. I'd be interested to see who was the last one-term president. Unfortunately, I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, but it's man, this year is just. I remember seeing a post and it was like this year, and similar to a thing that you were talking about, Ben, with the whole the writers of 2020 have just jumped the shark.
Yep.
And I think they were talking about it for 2016, but I think it applies even more for this year, to be honest. It's as if we're in a reality show and it's the last season, and so the writers have just gone fuck it and are just throwing shit at the wall hoping it will stick.
Yep.
That's what it feels like. It's just this absolute mess of shit that's just happening.
The reality is at least in the case of COVID, it's less of something horrible happening to us, and more of humanity in general being underprepared and ignoring issues that happen to them and not being able to deal with them in a timely manner, so that it gets out of control and becomes a lot worse.
Yeah.
Every major problem, the same with the World War III thingy and the Australian bushfires, it all comes down to humans being terrible people.
Yep.
In general.
Yeah, pretty much.
And letting this happen to them.
Yeah.
We let this happen to us because we're horrible people who don't care about the world.
Yeah.
And as soon as this is all over, it's going to go back to how it was. Pretty much, all the rich people are still going to be rich, and they're still not going to care about the world.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm hoping that there are a lot of people learning and changing from this in a good way, but we're not the majority in terms of having the power to make change.
Yeah.
But the hope I have is that the younger generations that are kind of moving up in the world are gaining a lot of knowledge from this and from all of this. And I have a string of hope that humanity will be slightly better
Yeah.
in the future when the younger generations are leading the country and
Yeah.
and the world and have a much better idea of how to do things.
Yeah, for sure. I think a really interesting thing with the whole COVID situation is everyone's suddenly becoming infectious disease experts. You know what I mean? Like you just hear people being like, "Oh, we should do this and this." It's like, are you a doctor? No. Then shut the fuck up. Like, you clearly don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that's really, like, sort of annoyed me, is, like, people, like, thinking that they're experts in a field that they're obviously not. And I think the issue is, because I was definitely one of the people who was saying, like, oh, I don't really get the big deal of it because it's essentially, you know, COVID's essentially like the flu. It's less deadly, yada yada yada. But I came across a video, and I think the video was by Vox, who are a news site that I really like, and they were saying that the problem with COVID is it's incredibly infectious. B, since it's a new illness, humanity doesn't have immunity, you know, to it. So that makes it really dangerous and able to spread so quickly. And that's why we need to, you know, why these, you know, quarantine and lockdown procedures are in place, is to protect, you know, as many people as we can. Yeah, like from this illness, while, you know, scientists and that work on a vaccination, so then we can vaccinate the population and or enough of the population so that we have, you know, herd immunity. Yeah, so like that was sort of like a, you know, after watching that video, that sort of like made me sort of like shift my own perspective, you know, of, you know, checking my own biases and sort of like seeing like why it is that we're doing this and why it's important that we are locked down. And the thing is that this, you know, this is such a, important's not the right word, but, you know, significant, you know, period in history. You know, this is like the first time this has happened in like 100 years. And so if the thing that you can do to help is literally do nothing, then fucking do it, you know? Especially for me, right? Because I'm incredibly lazy, right?
Yeah.
So if the thing that I'm doing to help is literally stay at home and just be on the internet, is the way that I can help, brilliant. Because that's what I'd probably be doing anyway. So, you know, like that's sort of my perspective of it, is that, you know, it's such an easy thing to do, so why not do it? Yeah.
People don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
People like to have their own personal freedom.
Yeah.
You know, people are idiots.
People are selfish. That's what it essentially comes down to. Yeah. So you've got that whole thing going on, you know, with people, you know, people being selfish. And a good example of that's obviously, you know, what's happening in the States with all the lockdown protests and the people refusing to, you know, refusing the stay-at-home orders. And it's so dumb as well, because they're like, oh, like, we want to get fast food and we want to do this. And it's like, oh, okay, so you basically want, you know, the people who are, you know, essential service workers to risk their safety for you. Like,
you know what I would say to people who say that sort of thing? I'd say pretty much all of New Zealand followed the rules from day one.
Yeah.
And now we can get fast food again. Yeah. So if you just listened and everyone went into quarantine and didn't screw around, and you'd be back to normal a lot sooner, and you'd have your fast food.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. They're just dragging out the process even more. Yeah, if you just be like, oh, okay, let's just not have fast food for a month or whatever. Yeah. You know, let's just stay at home for a month, make a bit of a sacrifice. And it's such a small scale sacrifice, you know. Yeah. In the scheme of things, you know, like there's people, you know, that the other day was Anzac Day, and I made a post on our Facebook page basically saying like look at, you know, the people who, you know, have served in the military and that, making, you know, arguably the ultimate sacrifice. Our you know, it's sort of, it's our turn to make a sacrifice. And even though it's nowhere near to the scale as their sacrifice, it doesn't make it any less important. In fact, that should be inspiration, that people have made those sacrifices in the past. Past generations have made their sacrifices. It's our turn. Let's make those sacrifices. Yeah, and that was sort of my reasoning of making that post.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's really interesting to like think about that whole perspective about thinking about war. Always just screws with my mind. I watched Saving Private Ryan recently.
Good movie. When
I was in lockdown, and like just the feeling it gives you of like the shit that they went through.
Yeah,
and just being like, what the heck? Like that, just like I can't even comprehend.
Yeah.
The idea of being in that situation.
Yeah.
And thinking about that's what those people went through, and that's why we have Anzac Day and all that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the thing that's so fucked up about that is that, because it was only a couple of years ago that it was, the 100-year anniversary of World War One, and people were our age. There were guys in their 20s and younger going overseas and fighting in these wars and seeing, horrible things. And that's unbelievable that people, that it's only 100 years ago that, World War One happened. It's only 75 years ago that World War Two happened. These, two of the like worst wars in human history happened, and there's still wars going on to this day over in other parts of the world. And it's amazing how it's such a luck orientated thing, that we were born in this country and at this time frame versus had we been born in Africa now, where like famine is widespread.
Yeah.
Or in Syria, or where the entire country's war torn. There's so much just a roll of the dice, of it. When it comes to this thing called life, it's such a roll of the dice.
Getting a bit I don't know the word.
I'm trying to pronounce it. Philosophical. That's not how to pronounce it. I'm not sure
that's a word, is it?
Philosophical.
Philosophical.
That's the word. That's the word I was looking for.
I was thinking more like along the lines of like depressing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Thinking about life in general is sometimes a bit.
Yeah.
Like, it's just weird. It's just like weird, right? It just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's there's so many aspects to it that are just that are just so weird and so and just random. Like even to the point of like I was thinking about this the other day, right? Like I could have gone to either one of two high schools, and I was thinking about how much of a different person I would be had I gone to that other high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because my group of friends would have been different. I would have had an entirely different high school experience. Because I went. I
wish we could.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Because I went to a to an all guys high school, and that school that I could have gone to was was co-ed. So there's so many different aspects of it, of my high school experience that would have been incredibly different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that the other day of like how certain decisions and certain things that happen to you have such a big impact on your life.
I wish we could play life like a video game, and go back and try again and do something completely different.
Yeah. Like try it.
Have different save states so we can like jump into different save states at any time. And
hard. It'd be so interesting, eh? Like, because you can even go all the way back to the beginning of it all, with the from a biological perspective, of the egg and the sperm that were fertilized to make you. Had that been a different sperm, that would have been an entirely different half set of DNA, which would have made you a completely different person.
Well, you wouldn't even be you. You wouldn't exist to be a different. It would be a different person.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be you.
Yeah, exactly. Which is just which is just mind-boggling, to think about that kind of stuff. It's kind of weird as well because I tend to think about this stuff a lot.
Yeah,
and maybe that's why I'm like. Maybe that's why I'm so fucked up. It's because I'm constantly having these like internal like existential crises.
I wouldn't say that. I think everyone has these weird thoughts.
Yeah.
It's pretty normal, I think.
Yeah. I know, it's just fascinating, eh? Like, there's so many different aspects that go into making you know what I mean? Like, there's the there's the DNA aspect, there's the environment that you grew up in, there's the friends and the company that you keep. Yeah, like
the food you eat.
Yeah, the food you eat, like just all these different aspects that make you.
Yeah.
I know, which is cool. Which I find that cool, you know what I mean? Like interesting but weird, and uplifting, but also depressing as well. Like it's such a mind fuck, basically. Is what it is. Yeah.
And thus concludes our reading the headline segment. That might be a record.
Yeah.
Having a bit of a jam. Not in a musical sense, but in a
bit of a yarn.
Discussion sense. A yarn, that's the word I was thinking of. Trying to, but couldn't.
Yeah, bit of a yarn. I mean, we sort of covered a little
yam,
bit.
You might say.
Yeah. A yam. That sounds like a bad type of spread. Like a knockoff brand of like Marmite or Vegemite. Like,
I mean, a yam is actually a vegetable.
Is it?
Know that? Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to spread that on my toast. So
I need to see what yam looks like.
It's just a weird little like red orange.
What the hell is that?
It's like a wrinkly carrot.
It is.
Or like a shriveled up old man carrot.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
I've never had one, and I've never known anyone except like my grandparents that have ever eaten them.
Yeah.
So I have no experience or have no idea what it is or why it was eaten and what.
Yeah, like what the point was.
Yeah, exactly. What is the point?
What is the point of a yam? Also, what a weird name. Yam.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
You reckon that was the first choice of word?
Well, I think it's the last vegetable that was ever discovered, so they're like, well, now what do we call it? We've got all the other names.
Yeah.
I don't know, yam?
Yam, sure, why not?
Like, no, one of them was eating it, and they're like, they were asking, so is it yum? It's like, I don't know if it's yum. It's more like a yam.
It's a yam. Yeah. Yeah. That's always a weird thing as well, is like how things get their names. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like...
I'm just looking up on Google. The origin is Portuguese and Spanish from the late 16th century, probably originally of West African origin. I don't know.
Is this the yam? Are we reading about yams?
Yes. Apparently yam is also a verb.
What?
It's used in Irish and Scottish. Yam.
What does it mean?
Verb. Oh, it's like a cat. It's just another word for meow, apparently.
Oh.
A cat slips up the driveway, yamming and trying to talk. Yeah, I think I've heard yamming being used as like someone being annoying and loud or something, maybe.
Huh. Well, I'll be damned.
I will be yammed.
I'll be yammed. I think we found
apparently, here's a weird thing. Apparently, in North America, a yam is another word for a sweet potato.
Yeah, I saw, when I searched up yam, I saw that.
Which is weird, because it's a completely different vegetable. I feel like whenever I search yams, they always look different than I remember.
Yeah.
Well, I think there must be just so many variations of yam. There's no consistency.
Yeah.
It's kind of like any vegetable that kind of doesn't look like a vegetable that already exists, you just call it a yam.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's like it's like the miscellaneous.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous box of vegetables. It's like, oh, this isn't something I recognize. Must be a yam. Chuck it over there with the rest of the yams.
Yep. Surely that's how it got the name, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Got to, surely.
I wonder if it's crunchy.
Right.
Speaking of which, it's time for the crunchy comments section, where we read a yaddle of crunchy yams from our fams.
And for once, we actually have comments.
Do you know that it's been about a year since we've had crunchy? Well, at least based on our crunchy comments list on Discord.
Yeah.
The last time Tash gave us crunchy comments was 28th of April.
Wow.
2019.
That's depressing.
I mean, to be honest, we've made a lot less podcasts during that time.
To be fair, we've sort of we have definitely fallen off the wagon. Yeah. as it were.
It's like we're no longer on the road. We're like going through the bush, and every once in a while we find a bit of path.
Yeah,
and like that's when we do podcasts. Yeah, and we go back and we just go across and go back into the bush.
We're just meandering our way around the bush. You know,
yeah.
We're in a cheeky 4-wheeler off-road car. You know, we're just having a good time with life, you know, with the bushes of life.
And then as soon as we get on the road, something comes out of the bush and attacks us and pulls us back into the bush.
Yeah.
And that's like COVID or computers crashing and all that kind of stuff
that
seems to happen to us.
Just life getting in the way, really. All right. So
I was going to read the comments, wasn't I?
Yeah,
that's right. So we had a comment on our Oscar Predictions podcast from Eli Bells saying, "Nice vid!" !
Thank you.
And he spelt vid with a capital V, which is incorrect. Shame on you, Eli.
Maybe this is why people don't comment on our stuff, because you shame them on their pronunciation, Ben.
Hey, people love to have their name read out and their comments read out, regardless of what we say.
All right.
I'm sure.
I'll take your word for it then.
Well, I can say from experience.
Okay.
So thank you, but thank you for that comment.
Yeah, thank you, Eli,
and thank you for saying that the vid was good.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Predictions may or may not have been. Well, my predictions were not good.
Yeah, mine and
Matt's were okay, weren't they?
Yeah, mine and Michael's were all right. Michael ended up winning that. Won by a point. A damn point. Also, I would just like to say that you guys all laughed at me for predicting Ford versus Ferrari would win the editing.
And I still laughed when they announced the winner. I laughed.
And it bloody won. I knew it. I called that shit.
You are too in with the old white man brain is the majority of voters.
Yeah, exactly. I just consulted with my inner old white man.
Yeah. And still on the Oscars, or was it on the next video that related to the Oscars?
Yeah, I think it was the results.
On the best bits results. T3 Toxic says you deserve more subscribers.
I think so as well. I believe we do deserve more. I'm going to just go on a little bit of a rant for a second. Okay, here's the thing, right? This is why I believe we deserve more subscribers, right? And this isn't even like on a selfish element with like me believing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing, right? Poor Tash, right? Puts so much effort in our edits and our thumbnails and everything, and he makes just everything look bloody amazing, right? And the man does not give enough credit, right? The fact that we only have 30 subscribers and get like 20 views a video, I get upset about it on Tash's behalf. You know what I mean? Because I have my own personal channel, right? And like it's only just me, so it's like if I make like a shitty video or whatever, and to be honest, all of the videos are shitty. That's sort of on me. Like I don't really care. Like if I don't do well as much. Like I do care a little bit, but you know what I mean? But Tash just he works so hard on the editing and stuff, and just the amount of effort he puts into the videos, I believe doesn't correlate with the amount of attention it gets.
Yeah.
So
Totally agreed.
So please subscribe to us and give us your support, whether that be in monetary terms, with our Patreon, or obviously we, times are tougher at the moment. A lot of people are losing their jobs and stuff with COVID, but you can liking videos and commenting on videos and subscribing. That shit's free, guys. That stuff is free to do.
And if you think we do deserve more subscribers, you should share.
Yeah, exactly. Share us.
Who you think would enjoy.
Exactly. Share us with your friends. Share us with your friends, with your mum, with your dad, with your brother or your sister, your auntie, your cousin you haven't talked to in 2 years. All the people. Share us around, and let people know what we're doing. Just because I think with the amount of effort that Tash puts in, I think Tash deserves it. Much love to Tash, our editing tech extraordinaire. Love you, Tash. Okay, that's my rant over.
Very fair. Totally agree. Yeah, it's a shame, but it's like it kind of happens to everyone, it's impossible to, it's very rare that you make one video or whatever and you just get all the views.
Yeah.
Because especially with the way the YouTube algorithm works these days, it just gets worse and worse every day.
True. True.
Such as the way that life is. But yeah,
Indeed.
Absolutely. Please share around and we'll, it's encouraging to, read comments like that, and those kind of comments helps us to be encouraged to make more videos just like that.
Indeed it does.
Stuff. So keep them coming.
Keep them coming. All right, what else? What else have we got in the way of comments?
From the most recent video, which was the best bits of the season 1 podcast throwback.
Ultimate throwback there.
As you were saying, the amount of work in that video was incredible. I didn't actually realize that. I don't realize he was doing the season 1 best bits. I thought he was just compiling the season 2 best bits, and then it was like the season 1 stuff, and like he made all this other backgrounds and assets and everything, and the animation was hilarious.
It was brilliant. It was so good. It was such a good video. When I saw it, I was like, oh my god, it's just hilariously done. And what a credit to Tash. I said to him immediately after watching it, I was like, that's the best one you've ever done. Holy shit, that was amazing.
Anyway, the comment on the video was, wanna be friends, ?
Yes.
I don't know who.
We don't know who.
It just has a dot, full stop. So maybe somebody managed to get the username of just a single full stop, in which case I congratulate you, and yes, I do want to be your friend, because that is so cool.
Yeah.
Otherwise, maybe it got missed out. Maybe when Tash posted the
our answer to your question there, anonymous YouTube user, is yes. We would love to be friends. Follow us on all our social medias and that, and just hit us up and we can have a yarn.
A yam.
We can have a yam. Yeah. That brings us to an end of the first part of the podcast. So this is where we say goodbye. So thanks for watching. We've already done all our plugs, which is brilliant. I've been Matt.
And I've been getting exponentially, gradually more tired as this podcast went on.
Goodbye.